So the first concept to take a look at is the concept called value innovation. Value innovation is a situation whereby you increase the value of your products while at the same time reducing the cost. I know many of us have heard about value improvement, or when you increase the value of your product, you expect the cost also to go up. But in value innovation, the value goes up and the cost comes down. And this is because most times when you go into a business, you just do things the way people were already doing it in that business. You don't ask yourselves why. Because most times the solutions you provide, because of technology, there are many cheaper ways of doing the same thing people have been doing. But then you go into a business and you're doing it the same way everybody has been doing it because it's what, quote unquote, is tradition. That's how it's done in my industry. I remember the story about this young man who asked his wife, because she always used to cut the edges of the loaf of bread before she put it in the oven. And so one day he asked her, why are you cutting the edges of this loaf of bread before you put it in the oven? She says she doesn't know why. That's how her mother used to do it. And so being intrigued, he decided to ask the mother. He says, Mama, why do you cut the edges of the loaf of bread before you put it in the oven? She says she doesn't know why. That's how her own mother used to do it. Excuse me. That's how her own mother used to do it. So even more curious, he calls the grandmother and says, Mama, why do you cut the edges of the loaf of bread before you put it in the oven? And she says, my son, in my day, the pans were too small to take the entire loaf of bread. And so she used to cut the edges of the loaf to ensure the bread got into that pan. But subsequently, all her children had been doing it. They didn't know why. And that's what happens many times when people go into businesses. You do it the same way people have been doing it. You don't ask yourself why. What can I change to make it cheaper for me to do? What can I leverage technology to solve? We also realize just by adding a few things with technology, you can increase the value of that product without markedly increasing the cost. So just by tweaking a few things, automatically you stand out in your own industry because you looked critically at it and reduced some things, eliminated some things, created some things, and raised some things. It may still be sounding a bit vague at the moment, but we'll look at how I applied this to my company called Gerocare. So in Gerocare, what we did was first identify what we call key competitive factors. And every industry has these things, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what business you want to do. There are certain things people in that industry focus on and invest money in that also contribute to the cost of the products. So since I'm running a healthcare practice, the orthodox business in line with what I do is a typical hospital structure. So in creating this solution, I had to take a look at the typical structure. What are the key things that they look at in that industry? They focus on the pricing. How can they make it affordable? They focus on the building or environment. Because we understand that for a hospital, a lot goes into how the building looks. Because how the building looks also determines how much you can charge, also determines the type of structures you have in it, and so on and so forth. So one key thing people invest in hospitals is the building and location and the environment. The third is the accessibility. How easy is it to access the location? And that's why at times you see people building hospitals close to where people can get to very easily. The fourth is availability of specialists. So you have a hospital, do you have the specialists required in that hospital? The fifth is the quality and standard of care. And the sixth is client or patient satisfaction. So in your own business, look into it critically. This industry I want to go in, what are the key things people focus on? And in these key areas, what are the things I can eliminate? What are the things I can reduce? What are the things I can raise? And what are the things I can create? So after identifying the factors, you look at what you can eliminate, what you can reduce. Those will help you reduce the cost. You look at what you can raise, what you can create that will help you increase the value. So let's take a look at how it plays out for Gerocare. So in Gerocare, we eliminated buildings, environments, and infrastructure simply because we brought the hospital to the patient's home and we put our structure on the cloud. So we have doctors, we have pharmacists, we have laboratories, we have everything a hospital needs. But those things are not located in one location. They are connected to the doctor via different models of mobile applications. So a doctor arrives in the house connected to his pharmacy, connected to his lab, connected to everybody he needs. So when he sees the patient, if he needs drugs, he makes a request, he goes to the pharmacy network, the drugs are delivered to the house. If he needs lab investigations, he makes a request, he goes to our lab network, they come to the house to collect samples for the test. So he's providing exactly the same care he will have provided in the clinic, but it's taking place in the home. And so the whole need for a building and the attendance costs of paying staff, cleaning, and so on and so forth have been removed. And so we can pass that along to the customers or the patients. We reduce price inconveniences because we made it a subscription service. We have no permanent doctors like Uber and the rest of them. We have no specialists on staff. It's only when we need. And we outsource all other services. So we provide doctors, but we have partners that are pharmacies, partners that are labs, and so on and so forth. What did we increase? We increase the standard of care. We spend more time with the patients, see them in their homes. They're able to feel more comfortable and enjoy the care better. We increase accessibility. We take the care to them. And also staff attitude and client satisfaction because of the time and training we give our staff. Then we created the entire hospital experience in the home, and we have a nationwide spread. So there's no city in Nigeria that we're not. So simply by looking critically at what is currently being done, we were able to identify areas whereby we could differentiate ourselves almost immediately. So having identified a problem you want to solve, you will realize that that problem you want to solve, there are other people currently solving that problem. There are other people currently in that industry. The key is for that not to discourage you, but for you to go into that industry and differentiate yourself. This is one of the very easy tools. Look at the 6 most important things these people focus on. And leveraging technology or other tools at your disposal, what are the things you can eliminate? What are the things you can reduce? What are the things you can raise? And what are the things you can create? And I assure you, once you apply these things, your solution will be much different from everybody else's. So the problem is